Hello folks, Purple here again, and that is Grixis control on the left and Abzan company on the right side of your screen. Well, you probably already have noticed a match I've put out with Dredge versus Benteldrazi, and then the remaining ones I have prepared for you or filmed last week. Yeah, it was basically last week. So this one was the next one in terms of interactivity and decision making processes and so forth. I don't think that's the best Grixis control build out there, but it's alright. I probably would have changed it a little bit. I was lucky enough that I started with a bird, but monodarks are not particularly amazing in this matchup because they have Electrolyze, and if they can start off, well, let's say if they would just have Visions turn 1 and then let's say a Mana Leak turn 2 or a Bolt or something, and then follow it up with Electrolyze, then things could start to get out of hand. He just suspended Visions turn 1 off his team then, so he fell down to 18. Live totals will be hard here because I needed my phone to charge up really. It was a very long evening which was full of Commander games. Well, just one, but that one lasted for like 3 hours. I just cast a Bowl of Roots and the tapped Godless Shrine, so now he has a Blasting Mire. And just passed the turn, so I imagine there is something like a Mana Leak here. That means that if I had at this point a Collected Company in my hand, then I should probably cast it at the end of his turn, or if he taps out for anything. I can maybe cast a 2-drop here and play around the Mana Leak, but that's not really that exciting at all compared to snapping out the counter out of him with the company and then actually resolving something on my own turn. So there is that. There are quite a few things you can do so that your Grixis control matchup is actually alright. But most of those things are for sideboard. Basically, your good options are things like Revelark, Courser of Krulfix, Farika. Farika is pretty good on this matchup, I feel like, because of the color combination. There is no path to excel or stuff like that. Or, what could be a thing? I don't know. Anyways, white and green have pretty good options for that, and then there is stuff like Ooze. Well, Kalitas is of course good for this matchup, but then again, I do run Archangel of Foon and a Spike Feeder in the main deck to play well against those mid-range decks in game 1 when they still have Ooze or Kalitas, things like that. One thing to notice here, by accident, just because I wanted something for Dredge main deck, apart from Scavenging Ooze, I think here I had a Singleton 3 mana and defense in here that I can cord out or get with company, for example. Just by accident, it happens to have an upside on this matchup because that if she stays in play, she basically negates opponent's call against commands. That means he cannot really get creatures back with it. So that's a nice bonus. I think here I attempt a kitchen things, it gets remanded. I don't know if I had the 2-drop here. I don't think I had. So I just pass the turn, and he fetches end of turn. Oh no, he had to fetch because of remand, because sorry for that. It's not like that remand was free. He gets a mountain. That is sort of strange choice. I guess he doesn't want to take too much damage out of shocklands and stuff. And perhaps he already has something like a swamp already in hand. But the point is that you want to cast cryptic commands. I don't know how many his build has, or how he prioritizes things here. Okay, he had a water grave. Okay, that changes things, I guess, in terms of what you fetch and how you play out your lands. Okay, maybe I didn't have a company in hand, or just didn't want to, get it for sure countered, but one of the things that could have happened to it was a remand, which is not that bad. And then, what was it? Maybe I just didn't have it. I saw that I had a cord in hand, but cord for 2 is not really that great. You want to wait so that you can at least cord for free and get witness and get back something important, or just chain those witness into cord and stuff like that. Have this kind of eternal command thing going. So that's in second. Visions suspended. He proxied the scour, proxied the visions, ancestral vision with the flood scour. And that basically implies that he doesn't run scours at all. So his build is a bit more controlish with more counters and stuff like this. So it's not like that Kerry Brookhart's, I think, version of Grixis control, which was much more about removal and scour and Hassiger and Colligan's command and stuff like that, and Snapcasters. Just getting your 2-for-1s and killing everything on boards and stuff like that. I think you still should run some copies of Flood Scour in there, in the deck, even if you have this slower, more controlish build. Let's put it this way. You definitely do run visions, you just have to. Only if you're Grixis Delver, then maybe you don't have to play it, or just don't play 4 copies of it, for example. Like 2 or 3. I think that's reasonable. So what I do here now is I fetch now, even though I don't think I had to. Maybe I just didn't want him to have an opportunity to do something ridiculous here. But he doesn't have Fulminator main deck, or like Blood Moon or anything like this. So I don't know, I fetched here, I didn't really have to. So suggesting the kitchen things that resolves. Maybe he just actually has the Mana Lake in hand. I think he only put like 1 copy of it into this build. There could be a remand. Okay, he terminates the wall, which is fine. I don't really care that much about it. I also don't see a benefit of actually doing that here, because next turn, even without the wall, I'm gonna have like 5 mana and things like that. Well, I took the opportunity to actually cast the cord while he's tapped out to force the issue, and I also here can get the Visceracer, because I only can cord for 1 here, either way. So yeah, Visceracer, and then I get to hit the wall to get his cry, and now I'm just 1 piece of the combo away from anything. Oh wait, so did I actually? Yeah. Okay, I get the Spellskite here. I'm not sure if that's better. If I had the mana for it, I guess why not? There was definitely no good reason to defend this this wall with a Spellskite, because at this point it doesn't really matter. If he would have had like a fast Tasigur actually coming at me, starting from early on from turn 3 or 4 or something like that, then maybe it would make sense to actually defend it. But otherwise, I don't see a reason. Because it's not like I'm short on lands or in mana to cast companies or chords or whatnot. Because after sideboarding, I think the match becomes worse for me. Because then he can board in sweepers and maybe more counter spells or more removal or things like of that nature. And maybe better win conditions. Well, Tasigur is a fine win condition. But something like a Keranos will be just insane. Whenever I had to play against this card, mostly when I played versus Jeskai control or Jeskai midrange, I was really having a hard time. It's hard to keep yourself calm when you have to play against Keranos, which was played after the board was swept or something like that. So coming in with some damage with the kitchen things. Now I have a township in play, and yeah, there's no real reason to use it now. I think by now one of the visions is gonna resolve, and then he would have one more next turn, so he could draw into just a series of removal spells. He's gonna try to cast a Terminate on the Spellskite. Well, there's not that much I can do about that. I don't think I should respond with anything. I think I should be the one kind of trying to respond to not just removal but something else. Well, I don't know, why would I do it now? Mainly because I wasn't fearing a Spell Pierce or anything like this, or a Dispel, especially main deck. And I guess the reason to do this now, because now it's gonna resolve. I'm in the company, and I'm not really fearing any mass removal. And then if I hit Viserys here, I can at least get value by sacrificing the Spellskite and scrying, or maybe get the combo already and combo out, and then there's pretty much nothing he can do in game 1 without the sideboard. So yeah, I guess it's fine timing for a company. I can't save the Spellskite, so yeah, it's gonna get terminated. It is gonna get terminated, and I suppose that's fine. I guess he can't respond to. He didn't respond to company, so I guess once the creatures are there, he can't. He doesn't have priority. Now he could have priority, but I guess he didn't have a bolt or anything like this. And he can always try to bolt if I go for like a Chord Calling for Archangel. Gets a bunch of cards, gets some Snapcasters and stuff, but in this game he was really crippled by not drawing enough lands on time. So this was basically why he gets so much behind. Because if he would have drawn one or two more lands, then he would be able to actually cast more than one spell per turn, and that means that he would be pretty much be able to keep up with whatever I was doing. He draws in land number 4, which would be hard not to achieve after drawing 4 cards that turn, I suppose. He has more lands in place, in hand. So he's not totally out of this, and I'm just down to 1 card in hand, because I'm gonna be up 1 after the draw step. But I do have Township, so that makes things kind of awkward a little bit here. Something like Electrolyze in response to Gavin activation would be pretty cool here. For example, just to kill off the birds. So I'm trying to cast a Melira with Township mana up, actually. which is an okay thing to do, I suppose. Spike Feeder doesn't really matter here. Well, I don't think he should respond at this point. And I don't think there is a reason for me to use the township before combat damage, that's for sure. But yeah, attacking with Spike's Feeder plus kitchen things. If he goes for Snapcaster something, then I have a good opportunity to, you know, to actually use the township profitably. I went really ballsy here with this township activation before combat damage because he could have gone like Bolt Snap Bolt. That's a very plausible scenario. I think he has the right mana to do so. He didn't just like one blue and then double red, and I think he has it. So yeah. Also Electrolyze would be kinda nasty. So it goes for Bolt and Melira. That's okay. Just so that if he bolts, let's say, Kitchen Fangs on this 10, it's actually gonna persist. So yeah, Bolt Snap Bolt scenario going on. Goes to kill off the Spike Feeder. I don't know if that's the right target here. I guess why not? Takes 4 from Kitchen Things. It's gone pretty low here. And now my stuff is out of range of good Electrolyze. So he needs more removal into Snapcaster action to actually do anything good here. He's gonna have a Vision Resolve next turn, or maybe now. I think it's next turn. There is a possibility that he forgot to remove a suspend counter. I'm not sure. Maybe he just fetched at his upkeep or something. I think he just forgot to remove the counter off of it or something. Maybe not this turn, but the turn before that. Because I think it was 2 consequential visions with just 1 turn being between them. He just cast visions. I don't remember where he put them. Okay, now he's thinking, so what could be at 4? Like a Bolt Tassigur or Bolt Snap Bolt again, perhaps? So I'm like a bit anxious at this point because I feel like it's not that hard, even though he could have quite a few options what to do here. Goes for another Visions. That is kind of weird. Yeah, maybe he just wanted to have a good Tassigur turn. Mountains, bolts, kitchen things. No, that's kind of bad. So yeah, bolts a bird. And then I think a Tassigur is gonna show up. I guess why not? Okay, so suspends another vision and passes the turn? Why? It's weird. Just black mana app, like 1 black app, what could that be? Like a Murderous Cut or something? I think it's a card that could or should see more play in Grixis variants, especially in Grixis Delver version with 4-foot Scours for sure. I think at this point he's something like at 4 life or somewhere around that number. Kitchen things persisted, so I'm very tempted to use Township here. Really tempted to use Township here. I suppose I should just attack with the bird and use the Township, and not attack with things. Okay, things persists because I townshiped it, or maybe it was actually bigger. Maybe it was a 4-3. I'm not sure. I think he just bolted the bird and last turn, and that's it. Yeah, I don't think he touched things. So things is now actually 5-4. And the bird is what? At least with 2 counters. Yeah. So yeah, now Vision's results, he has a lot of things he could do here. And I'm not drawing anything particularly exciting. Well, I have another chord in hand, though. But I don't have very many good targets main deck. Well, an offense is interesting because it's for toughness. So it can't be bolted, it still can be terminated. But it can be killed with a Colgan's command. I don't know, I thought that I should be playing kinda longer drawn out game and just respond whenever he has anything meaningful to answer my stuff with. I think bird, if it receives an extra counter, it's lethal. Which I think a bird just has 2 counters, but it might be 3. Anyways, it snap terminates onto the bird, and then champ with the snap. So not an amazing turn for him. He's down to just 1 mana, so possibly I could go with chord into something like Witness or whatever. Maybe I had a better thing to do. Okay, it's another kitchen, thanks. So now he has 2 very annoying cards to deal with. I actually think if you're on the mid-range slow control version of Grixis, you might as well, I don't know, play one of Anger to get main deck. For instance. Especially if you run the 2 mana Jace, if you run that version, so that will be cool. Because then you can just cycle it away if you feel like it's not gonna do much. For instance. Is that a thing in now is in his hand? That could be funny. Okay, he passed with a bunch of mana up. That is expected. So I'm going to combat. Now he thinks what to do. That seems like a cryptic command. Yeah. So I guess tap my guys and draw. And I might have to respond to that. He has just 2 mana up. And that could mean a Remainder Menelik. But I could be tapping my guys for Chord Calling. And I should be tapping my guys as well. So I kept 2 so that I can actually eat the canopy to draw an extra card. So I'm attempting a chord for 4. I don't know, why would I want to go for 4? Ah, because he was at 2, right. And if he didn't have a counterspell for this, then I just like shoot him down with a red cap. And that's exactly what happened here. So we are moving to a post-cyber game. Don't remember exactly how many that will be, 1 or 2. You hear my friend's cat over here, because I'm kind of vacationing and staying at his place. Because it's nice to have some friends who live in destinations where you could go for regional PTQs, for example. So yeah, it's convenient. I have this Voice of Resurgence tokens in my deck box for forever now, and I still have the voices. I didn't trade them away, but for so long they haven't been really good. They haven't even been really good before Dredge became so popular, and especially not now with all the angers and all the paths and everything else going on. Just that there's too much hate, for example. So at the same session, they also had a matchup with Elfball against this Abzan company next. So now we're boarding. Basically what our board is, I think Thoughtseize is, I think Corsair and Farika for sure. What else is fun to bring in? Path is fine for Tassiger, for example, because it is annoying at it and it generates a lot of advantage, even though it's slow, but you have to deal with it, I think. Fin Hunter is okay, but not amazing. He might board in if he didn't have main deck a Calatus, and he might board in something like a is it Staticaster. So it's, I think, reasonable to bring in all the paths. Not sure what kind of grave hate he's gonna have. I think for Grixis control, the best one to have is just to have a bunch of copies of Surgical Extraction because of Snapcasters and stuff. He could have Anger. So Selfless Spirit is definitely in. He's probably like 1 Anger, 1 Damnation. Selfless Spirit is okay. I'm actually not sure if moving on I would want to have both in my sideboard, like both the Selfless Spirit and the Burden First Tender. I'm normally fine with First Tender, Selfless, because as I tell to many of my friends, Selfless is just much better as a card, as a standalone, attacks for 2, it flies, etc. Even though it is vulnerable to bolts and call against commands. So, I don't know. Probably against John, Burnton is better, but if you want to cover your sideboarding plan across all mid-range archetypes, then perhaps Selfless is better. I don't know. There is an argument for both. Selfless is something that I don't mind actually siding in against Dredge as well, just because Conflagrate is so annoying, because you have so many 1 or 2 toughness creatures, and they can just spam themselves and just wipe your board very easily and very quickly. This is why I think if you can afford to, you should actually try to play an instant speed spamming game of your own, just to play against or play around Conflagrate when you play against Dredge with the company deck. I think it's kind of obvious what kind of things he would bring. Don't think he would actually consider Glenlandra that much, because there is Cord and company and sometimes Path. I don't know, it might be just too slow. But I would try it out, because I'm not certain. I'm not that certain. Okay, I see him actually taking out some Mana Links or some Terminates. I guess that's reasonable, because a lot of his removal actually deals with my stuff anyway. And Anger and Damnation are just much better. Also, I could expect stuff like Engineered Explosives, by the way. So, even though you might expect only Surgical as a Graveyard Hate Fang and not Ley Lines, I think it's still safe to just bring in Quasali Mage in this matchup, because Surgical would be very annoying. Because of Snapcasters, he's definitely not gonna have Cage. I think Leyline or Surgical are the 2 most likely ones. I don't think Ravenous Trap is that good for Grixis control. It's not really a tempo deck, so having a 0 mana spell is not that important, I think. Yeah. And then I think Grixis Delver Control is one of the best decks for surgicals, not just because of Snapcasters, but also stuff like Tessiger. And this way you get extra answers to combo decks, because, for example, you don't have access to white, you don't have access to Rest in Peace, so it's good to have surgical, for example, also against Reanimator decks, or maybe sometimes if you couple it with some discard, like, I don't know, Thoughtseize or Liliana, for example, then you can go for surgical very easily. Also, surgical is very good against in the Delver build because of Gitaxian probes, for example. Tempa Kitchen Things, it gets mana linked. That is of course much better than having it remanded here, because then he would still have to deal with the things. I have a very slow hand, but I think it's okay. I think in this matchup I could, after sideboard, I could play a long game with my sideboard. Of course, something like a Fran or Zigard or Revelark would even help that plan more. For example, Tron here would be just insane. Or next turn, let's say like Revelark or Zigarda. But Zigarda, for example, can be countered. Just something for you to think about. And I don't know. There is a chance that if Dredge actually dies down a little bit, or if mid-range decks become more popular over all the Infect, Affinity, Dredge type of stuff, or Blue-Red tempo decks, there is a chance that I might want to dedicate more than one sideboard slot to beating mid-range. But I do like Farika and Corsair. Main reasons are that you actually can flip them. Also, Shota Yasuka's version of this Abzan company deck from the World Championships, Players Championships, whatever, where he played this deck. So his version is interesting because he has, I believe, a pretty good mid-range matchup because of a bunch of Anafinzas across his 75, and then sideboarded 2 Mindbenders and 2 Gideons, the 4 mana ones. But yeah, it is clunky that you can't get them from company, and then sometimes you might think that you want to board in Thoughtseize as well against those Absence and Johns, and then I think you're very likely to take out just all 4 collected companies in this case. But then your deck has a different dynamic, which I'm not a fan of. I have an active Firecan now here and Eternal Witness. Uncontested, I have mana up for 1 activation of the Farika. But then if he gets some kind of Graveyard Hate Fang, then it's kinda clunky. I'll try Visceracer because I feel like he doesn't really have good answers to Farika. I don't think he can actually deal with it if it resolves. Okay, Kogan's commands. To face and discard a card. So because of those modes, it has 2 targets, so I can't fizzle it. Sacrifice the Seer to Scry. I'm not sure if Witness entered the game this turn. It seems like it. Discarded 2 mana on offensive because I could still possibly get it back with another Witness. In this build that I played here, I actually cut one witness in favor of one offensive because I run Pontiff main and I run Archangel plus Spike Feeder and stuff like this. So I was running out of slots main deck and already play 61 cards because I want 23 lands and I want to run all those bullets, etc. I think that's a Goblin Dark Dwellers, another card that I'm quite a fan of in Grixis control. There's so many nice things you can flashback, including Ancestor Vision. You probably play just one main deck and maybe a second one sideboard, something like that. But yeah, it's something to block with and something to flashback all those commands and bolts. It's really not that bad in this matchup, especially because it tends to slow down a bit after sideboard, because this is a matchup where I take out all my mana dorks because they don't really do much and just die to Anger or Damnation, for example. And there are very few cases where they're actually useful. For example, when I have Township, but then he has to have a very bad hand, stuff like this. So what's that up? Colgan's command again. What is he gonna take? So he shoots down the Spike Feeder, and what? Just made me discard the card. I'm not quite certain. Maybe he brought back a creature. Maybe you guys can point it out better. So I'm trying the main deck company, is it? Or is it end of turn 1? I guess it's end of turn 1. He goes snap mana lake hits. That is fine, I guess. Because I don't have to fear rest in peace. Or, you know, ley line most likely, because I don't think he plays it. Actually in Grixis control, there's a chance that Black Spell Bomb is okay because it says target player's graveyard, for instance. So unlike with Relic of Progenitus, where it says all graveyards. What did I do here? I'm not exactly sure. Oh, I ate Canopy with the Township and just passed the turn because I didn't draw anything significant. Well, I could trade with this snap by just making a snake and block it. I'm not sure if I want to. I think I can take at least one hit, if not two or something. What is that? Oh, okay, so I see. So I'm making a token out of my graveyard and pathing it so that I can get another land. I'm not sure what I want it for. I suppose I just wanted this plains and then cast the Archangel. I guess that's the card that is stuck in my hand, or the one I drew from the Canopy. Spike Feeder is in my graveyard, but I can potentially get it back, because I think I still have one more witness left in the deck. It's not like that will resolve, or the angel will resolve, or that witness. Going for a Courser first, because I feel like, well, if he has a removal, I might as well, like, start off with that. And this way I also have mana up so that I can make a snake with Furica, and that's essentially drawing a card as well. And I think it's a witness on top of my deck, which is pretty cool because I can get back Feeder or get back Angel, which is actually fine even without Feeder. It's actually the Feeder that is not really amazing without the Angel, but it does have some good features like resetting things and stuff like that, among other things. Okay, that's what I was talking about, the Black Spell Bomb cast on me. And now I can back Feeder. That is actually annoying. But I still have Witness, and I could go for Archangel here. Yeah, of course I responded to that bomb by making a snake. So let's just play correctly here. Yeah, so I have a snake here. So that my graveyard is not totally wasted. I draw a Witness, and I think my top deck is a Path to Exile in here. He still has the Snapcaster, but I'm not gonna attack with the Courser into it, because that means then he might be able to kill Courser off with Bolts or Colgan's Command coupled with the combat damage from Snap. Courser is one of the better cards in this matchup. After combat, I attempt an Archangel. Which actually works super amazingly with Courser, because you gain life when you hit the lands. Okay, he just goes for a Domination on his turn, killing off his Snap, but yeah, most importantly, he deals with my very threatening board. Okay, we have to fast forward here. Just a bit of mental magic. I have Witness for Courser here next turn, Path for his next step. Has some counter some interaction. I will draw some lands, which is not great, but I'll still have Farika, which will continue to drag things down. Even if he gets like a Tasigur and counters my path, I think I can drag it up. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell me what version of Company or Grixis you would be playing if you were us, what builds you like, what card choices you like, what new trends to be aware of that we didn't mention here. And I'll see you guys in the next video, because there are about 3 more coming up after this one for this modern RPTQ playtest sessions. I did enjoy Dredge. I hit just the top 8 at RPTQs, but so no invite for me, but I'll be playing the RPTQ for Nashville. Gotta soon fetch it out when that actually happens. And yeah, I don't know that I'll be playing Dredge anymore in Modern. It was a borrowed deck. So, Company again. So, bye folks.